Interested in learning about wine, but not sure where to start? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Cork and Fizz Guide to Wine podcast. I'm your host, Haley Bowman, and I'm so glad you're here. I'm a wine enthusiast turned wine educator and founder of the Seattle-based wine tasting business, Cork and Fizz. It is my goal to build your confidence in wine by making it approachable and lots of fun. You can expect to learn everything from how to describe your favorite wine to what to pair with dinner tonight, and so much more. Whether you're a casual wine sipper or a total cork dork like myself, this podcast is for you. So grab yourself a glass and let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to the Cork and Fizz Guide to Wine podcast. Today, you'll be listening to part 2 of my interview with Mia Martensson. If you haven't heard part 1, I highly recommend pausing this episode and going to listen to episode 162 first. We will be here when you get back. As a reminder, Mia is originally from the Swedish island of Gotland and started her journey washing dishes at 14 before climbing the ranks of the world's most prestigious restaurants. Her career has taken her from sommelier roles at Michelin-starred landmarks in Stockholm to a 9-year stint in the heart of South Africa's wine country. She even spent 6 years sailing the globe as head sommelier on the luxury yacht called The World, sourcing incredible vintages from every corner of the map. You're going to want to hear the story she has to tell about her experience on The World. There is quite an interesting, she finds herself in some interesting places. Today, she's the creative force behind the award-winning wine and beverage program at 7 Stars Resort in Turks and Caicos. I'm so excited for you to hear part 2 of this interview. We're going to be talking about what it's like to be the resort somm for 7 Stars Resort and Spa in Turks and Caicos, what wine she's most excited about on her wine list, along with which wines she's looking to add to the resort's collection, her favorite stories and experiences from years as a sommelier, and so much more. So without further ado, let's get into it. Well, let's talk a little bit more about what you're currently doing. So you are the resort sommelier for 7 Stars Resort and Spa in Turks and Caicos. You lead their tasting room, wine pairing program, the flight club program, and also curate the wine menus and the collection. So tell us about that experience and what vision you have for the 7 Stars Resort.
Well, it's been a long journey. So when I arrived in 2018, we only had one major importer on island and one small one. So when I came, there were 30 SKUs on the wine list, and mainly everything was American, North American, because there was nothing else. And most of the resort here on island had all the same wine list. So I came on board because the owners of the property was very adamant that they wanted to do something new with the beverage program, and they were willing to spend some money on it. So that's how we built, I designed and built the tasting room for them, which is a wine cellar with a chef's table in the middle. So I can seat up to 10 people in there. And it's a cellar that holds 2,500 bottles. And then I have a maturation cellar today as well. So we started to look at the program and what we could do. And also when you start a program, you need to look at it takes a minimum of 5 years to build if you are in a proper environment, which means somewhere to take in wines from. So in the beginning, I started with importing some of my own wines into the island because I didn't want to have everything what everybody else had. It was not giving the identity. So I started with importing some champagne like Pierre Jumenet, a small grower champagne from Cuy in Champagne. I started with some Burgundy producers, some Chateauneuf de Pape producers, some Bordeaux producers, and started slowly to build up. It took about a little bit more than a year to build this cellar because of delays, because you're on an island. So we launched January 2020, and then COVID came.
You're right. I was going to say that's a rough time to launch.
But it was actually quite good because we could catch up and we could really build on the concept and be really ready when we were allowed to open our airport again. So because Turks and Caicos is 258% tourism. We don't grow anything here. We have lobster and conch and fish, great people, and that's it. I always joke that you don't move with your fridge here, you move with your coconut tree because they're also imported and you pay $3,000 per your coconut tree. So the value of your property is mainly how many coconut trees you have on the property. So it took a while to build it up. And after COVID, kind of when we started to be able to be open again, it kind of took its own form and its own pace, so to speak. We were one of the 3 destinations for the Americans to travel to during that time. So we got an enormous influx, which was amazing. So it was the busiest time in history of Turks and Caicos from 2021 to 2024. So that allowed me to build up. And by this time, we also started to get more importers. Today, we have 5 importers, and they're all very different in terms of what they import and how they work. And it's allow us now to have more and better wines on island. We obviously have more resorts that came up as well, more private villas. So it just allows people to drink more and better. And to celebrate this, the tasting room is really great. So you come in, you have a 5-course tasting menu. You can choose if you want to have a sommelier pairing or a reserve pairing or a premium pairing. The sommelier pairing is more quirky wines, fun finds, things that you might not have ever tasted before, where the reserve pairing is more focused on Europe and more in depth of vintages and Grand Crus and so forth. And you can be 2 people or you can be maximum 10 people, but you have your sommelier and your chef for the evening cooking for you. And it's completely different menu from the main dining room. But to celebrate all these importers that came on island 3 years ago, in South Africa, we always did every year a wine festival to celebrate the wine and the people and that there was spring. So I wanted to do something similar in Turks and Caicos. So I managed to get all these importers under one roof. So I started a wine festival called the Uncorked. So now we have it every year, the week before Thanksgiving. We have about 300 people coming in, and we have about 300 wines for people to taste, full on with chefs cooking, grilling, live music. And we do it on the farm, which is one of our 4 restaurants that we have. And it's a hydroponic farming that we do. We're the first one on island who has that. And it's become a huge, huge success, which I'm very happy about. I didn't know how that should turn out, but it turned out really good. Again, because it's all about wine and food and people.
Yeah, can't go wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a quick reminder, you are not on my mailing list yet. What are you waiting for? I would love for you to join. When you do, you'll get a free shopping guide that has 15 of my favorite wines under $15. Head to corkandfizz.com, scroll down to the bottom, and there'll be a little section where you can join the mailing list. I send out a weekly newsletter filled with wine tips, recommendations, special offers, and so much more. Now, let's get back to the show.
So today we have 4 restaurants on the property and the deck, which is directly on the beach on Grace Bay. It's a 200-seater restaurant. And then we have the West Deck, which is more for during the day for all our guests where there's sunbathing and then the whole beach, obviously. And we have a smaller wine list down there, but a very busy day, very busy part of the resort. So we have a smaller wine list there. The farm has their own identity because of more organic and things like that. So I'm focusing more on more organic growing and more health conscious in that way. And then we have the Terrace, which is more of our upmarket sports bar, but they sell a lot of good wines there as well, which is just outside of the resort. And then 7, which is our fine dining restaurant, which is where the mothership, so to speak, with all the wines are sitting. And the cellar is designed that you have a wine wall around it. So you see all the wines and you can say in a little bit into the wine room and people can go in and they can do their own kind of look around what they would like for the evening. And so from 30 SKUs, today we have about 620.
Wow. Wow. I have to ask, when you went into that, to me, like 2 words come up, either like excited or overwhelmed, or maybe a little bit of both. What was your feeling like basically like creating something from scratch and having that opportunity?
I mean, it was a lot of pressure because I didn't know all the owners and they put a lot of faith in me. Obviously, my big boss, Ken Patterson, who owns and develops Seven Stars, knew where I came from because I met him on the ship. He had big faith in me, which I'm very grateful for. And they supported me all the way because it's a huge investment, huge. And we are the only one on the island who has this kind of cellar and that kind of caliber cellars. And yeah, they've been very supportive, and they're all very good drinkers as well. So that helps.
They like what you're bringing in. They're like,
Yes,
yeah, it's
exactly.
worth it.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so one of the things I always like to ask, especially as working as a sommelier and you put together this wine list, you always tell people, if they're going somewhere, fine dining, they have a sommelier and you're not sure how to ask for wine and you're willing to be adventurous. One of my favorite questions to ask is, what are the wines you're most excited about on the wine list right now? So let's imagine, I'm in your restaurant and, rather than curating it, you're on the floor and I ask you, what are the things you're most excited about right now? What would you tell me?
Sicily,
Mm,
Etna. The
yes.
white wines out of Etna right now is absolutely amazing. Many of them behave like the Chablis of the south of Italy. Very lean, high acidity, freshness, but yet a lot of personality without being big and flabby. Works really good, especially now we're on late spring, we're going into summer. So it's beautiful wines, really, really great with seafood. And also the red Etna, really, really good. Very light, very easy. You can either chill it almost like a rosé. And it's very drinkable and very affordable. And I just like that with all kind of, some is having pizza, some is having a burger, and some is having a steak, whatever, or you just having a conch ceviche or whatever you're having. It works really good both for both white and red. But I will also say that I'm very excited about Chablis at the moment. I've traveled a lot in Chablis and you find a lot of value because Burgundy is very hard to get value today because it's become extremely expensive and also because there's so little about it and they have had quite tough vintages and Chablis included for most of Sour. But there's a lot of value in Chablis. Anything from petit to normal Chablis, you get a lot. And I think that also because people tend to go away more and more from oak at the moment. So they're looking for that freshness. So I do a lot of Chablis by the glass and people just absolutely love it. And then there's a Sancerre craze at the moment,
Yeah.
which is because of thanks to my favorite girl of the world, Taylor Swift, who kind of set the ban there in terms of Sancerre. So the younger generation, thank God, is really locking into Sancerre, which is fantastic. At least then they're drinking wine.
Yes, I know. Who would have thought that that
Yeah,
would have happened? That
yeah. No, it's amazing. And it's kind of like what Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie did for the rosé craze that happened, right? Because
yep.
of the Miraval. That was the whole thing as well. Whispering Angel was obviously known as well, but Miraval kind of like added on to that, which is really cool. And many people just love that style of it. So yeah, it just helps us in terms of, you know, selling more wine.
Yeah, exactly, and I feel like it also gives you, like, a good starting point where, like, if folks are like, "I want a glass of Sancerre because I saw Taylor Swift had it,"
Yeah,
and then, if they're at the resort or they're the sommelier can come in and be like, "Hey, you had that. Do you wanna try this wine?" Right? Or, like, very
exactly.
similar with, like, "Oh, you
Yeah.
like the Sancerre? Ooh, Chablis is a really nice bright wine that, is just across the way in France. You should try this," and it's a probably a great way to bring people in and try more, even if they're just starting with Sancerre because Taylor Swift likes it.
But I must say that the only thing that makes me sad that more people not drinking is Riesling.
Mm, yeah.
It feels like it's still a nerd wine, or you have to be from Europe to appreciate it. But in Europe, we also have the food that works with it in a different way. So maybe that's part of it as well. But when I do it for tasting menus, people absolutely go bananas over it because they all had very bad Riesling effects before. And then when you get really great Dr. Lucen or, Marcus Molitor or whatever, or you go to Rheinheisen or Rheingau and you find a really dry, crisp one, then all of a sudden, because they like Albarino,
Mhm.
and then that can be a very similar to that was as well. But yeah, so that's the 2027 thing to work on is to get people to drink more Riesling.
Yes, I like it, I like it. Thinking about kind of like what's next and combining with your travels. So you travel, to curate this wine collection. What producers or regions are you planning on visiting, either this year or next that you're hoping to add to the collection?
I'm visiting Champagne for a couple of weeks this summer. I'm already doing quite a lot of champagne, but there's a lot of new producers that's popping up, which is quite interesting. So I'm visiting Pierre Palade, for example, which is in Bouzy. And Bouzy is also one of those who doesn't get, there's a lot of these small producers that grow champagnes that doesn't get enough focus. And also they come with a completely different price tag, which is making it more affordable for people to drink champagne. Because everybody can drink the big brands, but they're not always maybe the best to drink at that price point.
Right.
So it's trying to see what more we can add to the list in terms of price point, in terms of making it more affordable to people to drink more champagne. So I'm kicking off my flight club on Wednesday for the season. And my first one is fried chicken and champagne.
I
And
love that.
that's the theme for for month of May every Wednesday at our flight club.
Okay. Oh,
And
wait, wait,
that's
wait. Tell us more about this flight club. I feel like I mentioned it earlier, but we
yeah.
haven't heard about it other than this now delicious pairing of fried chicken and
Yeah.
champagne.
So Flight Club came out of, I have crazy ideas sometimes. Flight Club came out of it that we are quite slow in the slow season. Wednesday night is always our more quiet time in the bar. So I said, okay, why don't we make it into a wine bar? Because there's no wine bars on island. And then what is the club that you can't talk about, but you want to go to? So instead of Fight Club, it became Flight Club.
Yes.
So what it does is that I give special wines. We open special wines that you can do either small pour or full glass of. So you can do your own flight. So if you want to taste 3, 4, 5 different wines, you can do that in terms of small pours. And then we trying to combine it with different themes. So we do different themes every month. So the first month of May is now fried chicken and champagne because it's one of the best combos ever. And so it's a classic fried chicken or a spicy fried chicken
Ooh, okay.
with a gochujang sauce. So it's really cool. And it's very nice when you do flights because you can do sparkling wine versus champagne versus rosé champagne, which is
Mm-hmm.
again very different, right? Depending on where it come from. And June month will be Burgundy. Surprise, surprise. And then we do like beef bourguignon, we do like charcuterie board, everything that you would expect to go when you go to Burgundy. And then we do less expensive Burgundy to trying to introduce new regions. So Sauvignon Lisbon or Beaune itself, which is always an oversight and things like that. So we're trying to also educate people to look differently on the wine list. And then it goes on. So we go on till November. So it's a different theme every month.
That's so fun. I love that idea.
Yeah. So it's the club that we don't talk about, but we want to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. All right. Any other spots that you're planning to visit this year or you're thinking of going to next year that you want to add to the list?
Well, I'm going back to Gold Class. I'm going to Bonn again in November for the Hospice de Bonn. So we're looking at buying a barrel there. But next year, I'm planning to go back to South Africa. I haven't been back since 2017. So I want to go back and I'm very excited about that because so much has changed and happened. And I just want to go back and see my old friends and see what they've been up to and what the wineries are doing and where they are at. We've done a lot. We increased our portfolio for South African wines here on Ireland. So we managed to get some more. And also I have a South African sommelier. So it helps a lot with the South African wines.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, fun. So I always end these interviews with like a little speed round, but I have one more question before I get to that. Just talking about all of your experiences, we didn't have a chance to really go in depth into all of them because you've done so much over your career. Are there any favorite stories or experiences that stand out to you? And, one thing that's coming to mind is there's got to be like a story or two from being on the world's largest private yacht. Anything you want to share with us?
In terms of wine or just stories in a whole?
A little bit of both. I'll be happy to have just stories overall and then anything related to wine. Wait, I know you think this is an ad, but it's not, so don't hit skip. I have a small favor to ask. Here's the truth. I will never charge you to listen to this show, but every episode takes time and money to create. So if this podcast has helped you pick a better bottle, learn something new, or just kept you company, would you consider becoming a paid subscriber? You can show your support for just $3, $5, $8, or $10 a month. To say thanks, every single supporter gets a shout out on the next episode I record. And if you choose the $10 tier, you actually get to pick a future episode topic. Setting up a subscription is a great way to show your love for the show. Just click the link in the description right now. Thank you for listening, supporting, and being part of my wine-loving community. Now let's get back to the show.
I mean, the world was just an amazing place to see the world with. And we got to see, you go into expeditions and you go to Antarctica and you go Ross Sea and the rest of it. Ross Sea, of all the trips I've ever did with the world, the Ross Sea was most probably the most incredible one because it's the other side. So you go Tasmania and then you set sail out. And after day 3, you are without reach. And you sail past one of the biggest glaciers of the world, which is the size of France. And we managed to go until we can't go any further, which is just a big glacier in front of you. So the most southern tip point. So we're in the Guinness Book of World Records, right? And there's not much to land on there. So if you go to Antarctica on the other side, you can do more landing because you have land and whatnot. But you don't have that in Ross Sea. You have iceberg coming past you in 4 knots. So we managed to land one day on one of the glaciers, and we have a very experienced expedition team with us. From most of them are New Zealand's. They are extremely experienced in terms that they've done this so many years. And many of them had been frozen in tundra of Ross Sea. They wouldn't go to the other side of Antarctica because it's too touristic,
Too touristy of
Yeah, because
Antarctica, man.
the other side, maybe 45,000 people go, but in Ross Sea, it's only maybe 3,000 to 4,000 people a year go because it's more for research. Anyway, we managed to land on one of the glaciers. So they give me a saw and I had to saw out, and I built up an ice bar. And then I filled it with pink champagne because it kind of showed all this. So I'm standing serving champagne on this glacier where there's seals coming by and some penguins and things like that. That was just the most weird and unique and the most thrilling kind of experience. Yeah, I could go back tomorrow if I could. It's one of the most amazing places. But yeah, no, there's so many stories, and many stories I can't really say either from the world, but it was one of those 20,000 bottles in the cellar, 1,500 precision on the wine list. It was just one of those amazing places to work. And also because you buy directly wherever you go in. So you go Chile, Argentina, or New Zealand, Australia, whatever, you buy directly because you have direct import directly on the
Wow.
boat. So you could do more research and find more things. But my first contract I ever did with the world, my first contract was expedition in the White Sea, Russia. And it's called White Sea, Russia because it's only ice. The whole ocean is just ice, even in the summer. But you can only go into it in the summer because that's when the ice is cracked, so you can go through it. And I'd never been on a ship, and I came straight out of South Africa. And they call you for a mandatory safety briefing. And it's when you get taught what to do when you get attacked by a polar bear.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm just thinking, where in my contract was it ever saying that I'm going to be? And to be honest with you, whether you get attacked or not, you're dead because it's a polar bear. But it was just one of those surreal moments in life where you're kind of okay, I'm on a ship in the White Sea and I'm getting trained on how to react if I get attacked by a polar bear. But it's okay.
What did I sign up for?
Mm-hmm.
How did I end up here?
Literally.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, so my speed round, the way I end every interview, it's not I expect you to answer super fast, buzzer in. It's more just I'm gonna ask you questions that you might have multiple answers for, and we're just looking for what's the first thing that comes to mind? It doesn't have to be a perfect answer. So, for example, what is your favorite wine at the moment?
Coton Chalaman from Trappé,
Okay, all right.
2019.
All right, and tell me a little more about that. I'm remembering, that's Burgundy? No.
It's Burgundy,
Yeah.
and I always jokingly say that my ashes will be spread in Coton Chalaman, so I can be on everybody's lip for the rest of their life.
Oh, I love it. Okay. What is your go-to bottle of wine to share to share with friends or to bring to a dinner party?
Chablis, every time.
Do you love surprising people that it is Chardonnay?
Yes,
It's one of my favorite things to do with Chablis is you serve it and then you go, haha, that was Chardonnay.
100%.
Okay, you've done a lot of travel and maybe we even know the answer to this already, but what is your favorite wine region that you've ever visited?
I have to say South Africa.
Yeah. I was like, it's either going to be that or Burgundy. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's got to be one
I
of
would say
those
South
two.
Africa. Yeah.
Okay. Now, on the flip side, I feel like this one's going to be harder for you. What is a wine region you'd like to visit that you haven't been to yet?
Don't know, actually. I would like to go to China to visit
Okay.
the Chinese wine regions. That would be very interesting because they work so differently, and especially during the wintertime, how they bury the vineyards.
Okay, that would be a cool spot. And I feel like it'd be fun to learn too, like culturally, of like, I feel like they also like the culture is very different in terms
Yeah.
of like how the wine is served and how they pair it with
Yep.
food. Like, I think that would be really interesting too.
100%.
Okay, all right. What is, again, like at the moment, your favorite wine and food pairing?
Fried chicken and champagne.
I was like, as soon as I asked that question, I'm like, that's the answer.
Yeah. Literally, fried chicken and champagne any day.
So good. I just love the combination of like, you think high end with champagne and just go get yourself a bucket of fried chicken and like, it's
100%.
perfect.
It's like sideways when
Yes,
he drinks, what is it, Cheval Blanc
right.
in a plastic cup at McDonald's, which, by the way, has a lot of mallow in it.
Yes, right? Okay, now this one, again, I feel like this one might be a little challenging, but if I were to give you $1,000 to spend on wine, what wine would you buy? Would you go for like the big guns and like get yourself a couple fancy bottles? Or are you going for like a mix of unique, smaller producers? I don't need to know like every bottle you'd buy, but what's your approach to spending the $1,000?
Most probably, it depends on who you're dining with, but I'm most probably going to do medium in like champagne to start with. And then I will do, depending on fish or meat, but I will maybe go a little bit bigger for the main and then something sweeter for the dessert. But I would maybe have a couple of bottles in between just for interest. Because
Yeah.
I always find it's easy to go for the big guns, but it's always interesting to try new things. And depending on who you're with, it's always a pleasure to discover things with them.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to dive a little deeper into that because I'm curious. If it was a bunch of like fellow sommeliers, what would be those like interesting, unique bottles that you'd throw in between?
Yeah, today is that they don't have much here specifically. They don't have much experience on Riesling. So there would definitely be something on Riesling and blind tasting of that because I don't think that they all would pinpoint it to that directly. Also, Spain. Spain has some incredible, interesting wines coming out of classic old Spain. Bierzo is one of the regions that I really love at the moment. Toro, the lesser known area of Spain, has some extraordinary, interesting wines. And I really like those.
Nice. Okay. Last question for you. What is one wine myth that bugs you the most?
That Napa Valley is not a blend, Bordeaux is always a blend. And people just don't understand what blend and blend is. That they don't
Yes.
understand that you're blending barrels to
Right.
create that cohesive kind of wine. They always think that there's Cabernet from one barrel and that's it. They don't
Ah,
understand that there is like, if it's because Napa always says just Cab, even though
right.
many times it's so many other grapes in it. It came as special selection, for example. To get that character, you have to have something else in there as well. But, and that Bordeaux is always a blend and not just a Cab. And that they don't like the blend. They only like the Napa because it's not a blend.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like that's like two myths in one of like one that like
Yeah,
blends are not as good, right? Like a
exactly.
blended wine is not as good. And that, like you said, like because of the rules in
Mm.
Napa and I mean across the US, like you can label it Cabernet Sauvignon, but there can be like what, up to like 25% other grapes going on in there. And it is actually a blend.
It is actually a blend and so much better for it.
Yes, exactly. I love it. All right. Well, we've reached the end of my questions. Is there anything else you want to share before I let you go?
No, thank you very much for having me. I love your pod. I like the way you do your pod and I like the way you go around wine. It's really good.
Thank you so much. I loved learning from you. It's always fun learning about these different experiences I never would even think about in the wine world. And it's why I love having this podcast where I get to talk to people like you.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night.
The same to you.
Cheers. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Cork and Fizz Guide to Wine podcast. If you loved it as much as I did, I would so appreciate if you could take a quick second, rate it, and leave a review. If you know a wine lover in your life, you know what to do. Send this episode to them so they can listen to it too. And if you'd like to show additional support for the show, you can become a paid subscriber. Click the link in the show notes and become a monthly supporter for $10 or less a month. That's basically a cup of coffee a month. You'll get a shout out. Well, okay, let's be real. It's a latte, a fancy latte from a fancy cafe, but you get it. You'll get a shout out in the next episode that I record. Plus, if you choose the $10 a month option, you'll get to choose a topic for a future episode. In next week's episode, we're diving into a topic I've learned about countless times, but I'll be honest, it still kind of confuses me. But don't worry, I'm going to do the research ahead of time. I'm going to be well versed by the time I record this episode, and we're going to learn about this together. We're talking carbonic maceration. This was a request from a listener, and I think it's a great topic for the show. Thanks again for listening, and if you want to learn more about wine, come follow me at Cork and Fizz on Instagram. Cheers!